I heard a phrase today, which is not a new phrase. It's not something that I've never heard before, and it doesn't even necessarily, it's not a new thing in general, but the idea of mental health. I heard in conversation somebody describe another person as not being mentally healthy. And obviously I know mental health is nothing to joke about, because it is a very serious thing that a lot of people deal with on a daily basis. There are very people in my family that have had struggles with, quote, mental health. But I personally am not a person that understands that. I have always been kind of a mind over matter person, or at least as long in my adult life. I can't speak for my childhood, because in your childhood you have these delusions of grandeur and nostalgia that really kind of sugarcoat a lot of your experiences. Unless, of course, you were a person that didn't have a great childhood, in which case mental health might be a very big deal to you. And to that, I respect that. But I don't understand the idea of mental health. How people get to a point where they can be described as having poor mental health. Because physical health is something that you can very easily measure. If you are hacking up a lung every other day, you are in poor physical health. If your brain is not operating the correct way, or your heart isn't pumping blood properly, those are physical health things that can be measured and recorded and monitored and even fixed via medications or surgeries or whatever it may be, therapies. But then you have the mental health side of things, which is, to me, very much a you thing that you have the power to solve. But I know that's not the case. And it's not fair to assume that if people are like, oh, you have suicidal tendencies? Well, just don't think about it anymore. Because that's the conversation that a lot of people have. They're like, you know what? It's not as simple as that, because you don't always know what's happening in your brain or why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And you go through, but that's not something that can necessarily be fixed with a surgery or even a pill. I mean, there are antidepressant pills and things that people take, but that doesn't always solve the problem. Sometimes it just dampens the feelings. And whereas with like a physical medical problem, you can potentially cure the disease that you're fighting against. You're not just masking it so that it doesn't come up anymore, but you are legitimately getting rid of the problem. Whereas with mental health, you don't always have that option. There are therapists, psychologists, social workers, whatever it is you want to call them, and I know they're not always the same title, doesn't mean the same thing, but I personally struggle with understanding mental health and how people have those issues and those problems that they are trying to solve, and they don't just think it away. Because my brain works that way. If I'm having an issue, I either talk about it and it's done, or I think it away. I realize this isn't something that I need to burden myself with. This isn't a problem that I have to deal with on the daily. I'm very much a mind over matter type of person. If you think it, then it's done, and it's done. But I know that's not necessarily the way it works. So I, especially as a teacher who encounters middle school students daily, mental health is a big thing, and as they grow into adults, they have to deal with emotions, and you can't always logically explain something away. So I struggle with understanding mental health. I would like to be able to understand it more. If you have any information for me, please let me know, and I'll see you on Tuesday.